Hello, this is Sarah Brosh. Welcome back to my channel. So I want to do a video about a scandal that occurred very recently at Stanford Law School. And so what happened was there was a group of students who were actually ended up being officers for the Federalist Society. And the Federalist Society is a conservative legal political group. They're found, all over the U.S. in law schools all over the U.S. And so they advance a conservative political view, specifically making use of the legal system, judicial appointments, clerkships, legal advocacy, litigation, etc. So so there were some students who filed a complaint. Now, I am of the mind that I think there's actually much more to this story than the facts as we currently have them suggest. But that's just my opinion. So the facts as we currently have them are that these students at Stanford Law School filed a complaint against another student who had created a satirical flyer that made fun of the Federalist Society and that was also making fun of the Federalist Society not basically condemning the riot, the mob, whatever you want to call it. The satirical flyer called it an insurrection on January 6th at the Capitol, at the U.S. Capitol. So that's what the satirical flyer said. It was, and I saw it, and it is very clearly satirical. So it definitely is, free speech. It didn't name any private citizens. It only named public figures, Josh Hawley, and I think one or two others, politicians, legislators. So clearly within the realm of, free speech. And then also California, Stanford, of course, is located in California. And just so people know, in California, they have something called the Leonard Law, which even though Stanford is a private institution, which I'm sure Stanford gets tons of federal money anyway, and per federal regulations, usually have to abide by, the Constitution and including the First Amendment in your dissemination of whatever funds you get from the government. But anyway, so California still, above and beyond that fact, has something called a Leonard Law, which says that all private and public universities in California must abide by the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, and that includes Stanford, even though they are a private institution. So very clearly, the satirical flyer making fun of the Federalist Society at Stanford Law School was well within the realm of the constitutionally protected free speech rights of this other student. Nonetheless, like I said, I'm someone who I happen to think that there's more to the story, but nonetheless, what happened was these officers from the Federalist Society filed a formal complaint against the student who had created the satirical flyer. Now, it sounds like there was bad blood between these persons, based on politics. It sounds like the student who created the flyer obviously is, left-leaning, progressive, and the Federalist Society is definitely on the right side of the political spectrum, and definitely conservative. So anyway, it sounds like there was a lot that had been going on between these groups of students for months. Nonetheless, at the end of this semester, right before finals, the three students from the Federalist Society, officers of the Federalist Society, filed a formal complaint against this other student. And so this other student who had created the satirical flyer had a hold put on his graduation. And this actually was a big deal because not only was he in the middle of finals, trying to take finals, so he was under an incredible amount of stress, worried about the fact that he had a hold on his graduation because he was being subjected to a disciplinary procedure because of this formal complaint that had been filed. But above and beyond that, this hold on his graduation was threatening his bar exam, because you have to have your JD before you can actually sit for the bar exam, and if he wasn't allowed to graduate, then he wouldn't have his JD. So it was a huge debacle. So what ended up happening, the facts as we currently know them, are that the FIRE organization, which is like Freedom and Individual Rights and Education, or something very close to that. But anyway, so they took up the cause of this student, and they were seemingly working hand in hand with Mark Joseph Stern, a journalist with Slate, and they made it a national news story, got it national media attention, and then Stanford almost immediately backed down, released the graduation hold on the one student so that he could graduate and take the bar exam. Fine. Now, one thing that I will praise FIRE for is that they released the complaint from the students from the Federalist Society, but they redacted all of the names. So they redacted the names of the students who had filed this formal complaint. I really respected that. And I was really concerned that those students were going to be doxxed. So I actually, after Stanford Law immediately backed down, released the graduation hold, I immediately said, I was all over, well, as soon as the story broke, I was all over Twitter saying, everyone, just take a beat. I'm not 100% convinced that we have all of the facts on the table. I think that there is more to this story, but nonetheless, before everyone needs to hold on to their horses, and everyone needs to stay calm, and no one should dox those students, and no one should start any campaigns and subject them to trial by Twitter without due process, and social media, mob vigilante injustice, and try to get these students killed and try to destroy their lives. People were trying to find out where they were going to work after graduation. So I was very concerned. And obviously, on its face, it seems like these students had done something wrong, in terms of morally wrong. They hadn't committed any crime, but morally wrong in terms it could be construed as them having tried to upset the graduation plans of the student who had created the satirical flyer. It could definitely be construed that way, and I don't debate that at all. I accept that it can be construed that way, and so people might think that there should be some kind of investigation into the activities and behavior of the students from the Federalist Society, and I do not dispute that point at all. But I said, everyone stop, because of course no one stopped for a pause, hit the pause button, stopped to take a breath when the Living or Not Being While Black hate crime hoax at Yale hit, and I was immediately, my life was in danger. I had to flee Yale's campus. Instantaneously, my entire lifelong human and civil rights, academic and legal and civil, legal and academic careers were destroyed. So obviously I was concerned. I was extremely sympathetic to the student who had created the satirical flyer, because my life had been destroyed by the Yale administration, who falsely charged me with racial harassment, subjected me to a false disciplinary procedure. They knew that I was entirely innocent, And my surrogate dads had to pay $10,000 to a criminal defense attorney to stop Yale from expelling me. And even so, even though the Yale administration withdrew all of the charges, Yale grad school dean Lynn Cooley illegally banned me from Yale's campus and illegally banned me from teaching at Yale. And that exists to this day. It's in perpetuity. And it's just so they you know, just have defamed me, repeatedly defamed me. They created a whole vast new Maoist diversity, equity, and inclusion bureaucracy called Belonging at Yale, which is named after a disgusting lie that Lolita Sambola and Jean-Louis Renison told about me during the hate crime hoax at Yale. And this is a campaign to get me killed, drive me to suicide, as a cover up their gross malfeasance on the part of the Yale administration. So, given all that, the fact that this student who had created the satirical flyer was seemingly wrongfully being subjected to a disciplinary process by the Stanford Law Administration, I was extremely sympathetic to him. Extremely sympathetic to him. Nonetheless, I was also very, very concerned about the lives of the Federalist Society students being destroyed unnecessarily, about them being doxxed, about their lives being put in danger, about their careers and livelihoods being decimated, because obviously that also happened to me. I was also just mobbed incessantly, waves and waves of mobbings on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc., deluged by death threats, rape threats, threats of violence, people emailing me pretending to be my dead brothers in hell, telling me that I'm so ugly that I should go hang myself like my dead brother. Like just like you can't even imagine that human beings are capable of the things that were done to me, right? So I did not want that to happen to the Federalist Society students at all. So there's that. And so I'm very sympathetic actually to both sides, right? Very sympathetic to the student who wrote this satirical flyer, and very concerned about the futures and the lives and the health and well-being and safety of the Federalist Society students. And I did feel like I'm not sure that we know everything. It just seemed to me like there's more to this story that we aren't being told. But as soon as Stanford Law backed down and released the graduation hold, I felt like, you know what, this is really a happy ending, because, you know, that everybody can graduate. No one has been doxxed. And what I was saying about the fire organization is that I really appreciated the fact that they redacted all of the names of the students from the complaint. So they didn't dox anybody. So no one had been doxxed and everyone can graduate. And to me, it just seemed like, you know, Stanford Law and Stanford retracted the disciplinary procedure. It just seemed to me like that was just a happy ending. I assumed that there was more to the story, but I also believed that I think Stanford Law at that point, was just going to try to sweep this under the rug as quickly as possible. And I just thought, you know what? It's over. It's done with. No harm, no foul. I know it was stressful. I know it was stressful for the students, but everyone can graduate. No one was doxxed, so we're in a good place. So then, they got doxxed, the Federalist Society students. They were doxxed. And I had said to everyone on Twitter that if anyone doxes those students, I'm going to be very, very angry. I'm going to be very angry. And I am very, very angry. And they were first doxed by the Above the Law blog, and then they were doxed by Mark Joseph Stern, a journalist for Slate. Now, of course, I abhor the Above the Law blog. I abhor Slate. They were both leaders of the witch hunt at Yale that almost got me killed. They both doxed me. They both tried to get me killed. They have never corrected the record now that the Living or Napping While Black incident at Yale has been revealed as a hate crime hoax, and I'm the completely innocent victim thereof. So I think I'm going to stop here because I don't want this video to get too long, and I'm going to talk more in another video about this situation and just talk about how now I actually believe, based on what has happened, that this whole situation really stinks of a stunt, particularly on the part of Slate and particularly on the part of Mark Joseph Stern, to smear the Federalist Society. And so I'm going to do another video and talk about that next. Okay. I love you all so much. I'm going to have all of my fundraising links below: PayPal, GoFundMe, a direct link to my wonderful attorneys at Randazza Legal Group. I love you all so much. Have a great night. Thank you all so much for everything. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.